Rush Hour Podcast. We are back another week, actually another week off. We've been every other week at this point, so apologies for that. Busy summer schedule coming ahead. Appreciate everybody jumping on. I'm TW. This is Justin. We're two tech guys talking tech, but we're not technical. Does that make sense? We're both in business on the business side, but we've been in tech for 30 some plus years combined across IPOs, mergers, acquisitions, layoffs, closings. We've kind of seen it all across the different tech companies, and we thought we'd jump on, spit some free game and talk about what's next. And the topics this week: SpaceX IPO. I thought that was an interesting one, and then we've got another court case. Is the state of Florida versus OpenAI? That's interesting. I want to hear more about that. But I thought we'd start with the SpaceX IPO. What are you hearing out there, Justin?
Yeah, so this is probably the most hyped up, anticipated IPO, at least of the modern era, but maybe ever. They are looking to IPO I think within the coming weeks. I think it's supposed to be kind of in the next few weeks under the ticker SPCX, and looking to raise around 75 billion with the IPO, which is insane. But we'll get to what's even more insane than that. So the IPO could become the largest in history, potentially surpassing Saudi Aramco. I think it was like 29-ish billion, and may value SpaceX at around $2 trillion, which is, can we sit with that for a second, of how insane a company going to IPO and becoming one of the most valuable companies in the world overnight, potentially making Elon Musk the first trillionaire, which also sounds insane. His net worth typically fluctuates between 600 to 800 million, but making him the first trillionaire. And it's like, how is this actually possible? They released their S1, and I think that SpaceX lost like 4.3 billion in the most recent quarter, which highlights Musk's long-term bet on rockets and AI infrastructure. And obviously there's a lot of investment, particularly on the SpaceX side, on the XAI side, and kind of what they're doing, with these AI models, and also with spaceships. The real star of the S1 was Starlink. Starlink is an incredibly profitable company. I think they did like $4.4 billion in profit in the prior year. They have 10.3 million subscribers. They've had tremendous global expansion. It's definitely a kind of the sweet spot within their current business. Obviously SpaceX as well, and launching rockets is huge, right? They do most, I think, of the launches for private companies and also other entities in the world, and that's also that's a very creative business. I think if you're looking at the $1 trillion valuation, where is it coming from? They say that their potential TAM is, I think, 25 to 29 trillion dollars relative to the launches that they'll be able to do, space tourism, bringing people and setting up colonies on the moon and in Mars, and additionally putting data centers in space, which, relative to all of the challenges that a lot of companies have now building a data centers, the kind of energy that's required, the strain on the natural environment and water, et cetera, and the fact that there's just infinite sunlight in space, make that a very compelling model. But basically, what you're investing in, if you're investing in SpaceX right now, isn't just kind of SpaceX the company. It's buying all the different infrastructure and I guess amalgamation of companies that kind of fit under that current umbrella, from X to XAI, Starlink, et cetera. And you're betting on Elon, just like with Tesla and a number of his other companies. But this is a really historic IPO. I think there's a lot at stake here within the public markets if this doesn't go well, because everything will kind of be tied into it with how retail investors and also larger companies investing. But pretty historic. And I know you have some thoughts after reading their S1 as well.
Yeah, there was also like Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket that exploded a few days ago. Shows you how hard this whole rocket thing is. Not that you didn't need to know, Um, a rocket science is difficult, like everybody says. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do this, but it looks like there's going to be a lot of competition. But he's ahead of the game, right? He's got rockets launching and landing safely. It's incredible. But yeah, I was reading through and just thinking about the business overall, and what I kept coming back to was like their overall mission is sort of to me sounded very not for profit. It is to make the human species interplanetary, and it's like that just doesn't feel like a for profit company. It's sort of like for the benefit of humans, in case there's some sort of extinction level event on Earth to have us on another planet. And Elon has a lot of passion towards it. He talks about this is what motivates him to get up every day. And to me, it just felt like, how is that gonna? It does translate when you read through it. It's like, wow, there's a lot of like pieces to this thing, but like
Mhm.
the core of the business is really to put humans on another planet. And I'm like, dude, how in the world is that a $2 trillion profitable company? It sounds like it's going to be just I don't know. It sounds like to me like it's going to be a lot of infrastructure, a lot of payments, and not a lot of profit in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But I could be wrong. Of course, Elon's proved us all wrong. And like the other thing I can't really square is the idea of all of this is for the human species, so to speak. And the one thing Elon is terrible at is treating humans well, right? On a personal level. You hear him talk about firing people that he's worked with for 20 years as personal assistant. They take a vacation, he fires them. And he has no sort of like the human element, how he talks about AI and how he talks about all of these things. To me, it's weird. I just can't wrap my head around
Yeah.
it. I believe in it all, but when I really think about those things, you're trying to save humans, you treat humans terribly, and then it's a for-profit company that's doing it. It's like, what? Like, I don't know. You tell me,
Yeah.
am I off base there?
Yeah, let me take a stab at the former point first, and then I'll
Yeah,
talk about kind of the humanity piece. So I think the grandiose vision piece of, hey, we want the humans to be an interplanetary species. I think that like all corporations have to have these crazy visions, right, in order to demonstrate that they deserve to exist in the world and can capture that kind of TAM and do all these crazy things. And I think that's just part of he is tremendous at staying relevant in the news and putting ideas and things out there that get people talking. I think that's part of it. I think part of it is he actually does think it's very interesting. You're the richest man in the world. What kind of things do you wake up trying to solve the next day? It's probably this, right? If that once you've kind of gone through other things that you could work on and had tremendous success. But I think the other piece in terms of the business model working, like if they are truly able to leverage the capabilities of the AI piece and the data centers and Starlink and SpaceX to continue to bring satellites and more infrastructure into space, and they kind of control all that, and that's helping the AI models go faster and improve quality, and there's more compute that's available, and it kind of speeds everything up. Maybe they don't hit that 25 trillion, but maybe they hit 16 or something like that. That would still be insane. And so I think obviously is going to kind of shoot for capturing as much of the market as possible. But I think there are a lot of components that, if they come together, not just about kind of getting people into space, that do make it a very interesting business model relative to all those components, all those businesses come together. And we haven't talked about potentially bringing Tesla into the fold and that merging into SpaceX, which I think could happen as well. I think that's that kind of be my thoughts on the first piece. On the second, relative, relative to that, I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of tech luminaries who are known to not treat people who they work with very well, right? Like look at
right.
Steve Jobs,
Yeah,
who was an incredible visionary builder who really cared about his customers and making sure they were products that add a lot of value in the world. And I think he actually truly wanted to do that. I think that was a part innately in why he was building these things. But if you work for the guy, he was, was rough.
Yeah.
So I think it can be that kind of a thing as well. It's like he has these audacious visions for humanity generally, but if you're working for him in order to get there, you're working for a founder who wants to move faster and is going to be very transparent about how he feels about you anytime. And I know we've both worked with CEOs who are similar to that, have great grand visions, but maybe the way they kind of treat employees or the speed at which they want to go can be rough.
Yeah, that part. Uh, now that I've been in doing this so long, it almost gives me like PTSD hearing some of the stuff because it's like when you're younger. Also, when you're younger in your career, you believe in that mission of the company, you're going to sacrifice your life for the company's vision. And I can see this one doing that, right? Like you have the
Yeah,
vision of like I'm going to save us from being extinct, and that's a huge undertaking
yeah,
to think about, and you're literally gonna have to sacrifice a lot of lives to do that. I think he's mentioned it. Like, hey, people are going to die on these missions. Like people are not going to make it. They're literally going to have to sacrifice their lives for the good of this, mission. And I think that's really interesting. Like the fact that he's doing it in a time where it's like everyone else uses AI for these small projects, and everybody is after these solo like one man mission type companies, and here he is with the biggest vision possible, and he's out here trying to perform it, and he's blending all of his companies together. It is fascinating. I'm here. I've got popcorn ready to watch this thing unfold, but I do question it. Like it's so big and it's so audacious that it seems almost unattainable, but also like, hey, that's why he's here. That's why he's doing it. So again, I'm for it. I'm scared, but I'm also here for it. So I'm excited to see what's next. What are your general thoughts on how the IPO is going to go? How is it going to go?
I think this guy is great at drumming up consumer interest. I think typically when these companies go public, they unlock, 15% of shares for retail investors. I think they're trying to do up to 20, 30% based off of some reports. Like he knows the impact of driving that retail entry. So I think it will do really well, at least initially.
Yeah,
Ask me a month from now. I mean, I'm not sure how it's going to trade after that. I think the IPO will go well. If I'm a betting man, I just think there's just so many financial interests tied up that it'll almost be willed to happen. What happens after that will be really interesting. And if it becomes a major player, it becomes a Maggate, and then you have OpenAI and you have Anthropic coming right after that as well. And those have an outsized impact on markets generally as they fluctuate and as there's some turbulence in the early investing. That's where me as an investor myself, just like primarily in ETFs, but in a basket of companies, I get a little more worried because
yeah.
that can drive a tremendous amount of swings in the market that will be, you got to have a tough stomach, I think, in the coming
I
months.
mean, you look at OpenAI. Elon was involved in that. That was originally a non for profit, and
Mm-hmm.
now that's turned into another incredibly profitable business. Maybe there is something to this. Elon's got a vision for helping humanity, and then it turns into this incredible profitable business. And maybe this is just the next sort of feather on that cap. We'll see.
Yeah. Are you going to invest in the stock
Funny,
after the IPO?
I invested in Rocket Lab, and I invested in Planet Labs as well, and both of those stocks are up 300, 400%. So yeah, I'll probably dabble in it a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
why not? Like, I want a little skin in the game. I've definitely got a lot of Tesla. So I'm curious how this is all going to go. And then the last one on that OpenAI note, you mentioned there's a lawsuit. Tell us what's the latest on that one?
Yeah. So Florida has become this first state to sue OpenAI. And basically, what they're alleging is that they knowingly released a product that's harmful to minors and failed to implement adequate safeguards. And actually, interestingly, they're going after Sam Altman um, personally as well, accusing him of prioritizing growth and continuing to build market share over user safety. So specifically, they're saying that they encourage harmful behavior, contributed to mental health issues, enabled dangerous research by mass shooters. That's a very kind of interesting asterisk relative to Florida specifically, and that have not really focused as much on parental controls. Now, what OpenAI would say is, hey, we focus a lot on privacy. We have these parental controls. We have these AI systems that are supposed to help with, age verification and everything else. But what this lawsuit really stemmed from was the Florida's. There was that shooting at Florida State University, and basically authorities have claimed that the shooter had extensive conversations with ChatGPT during this time before the attack. So what's interesting is, similar to the analog of Meta and companies going after them because of harm to children and making addictive products, et cetera, you're seeing that creep into these AI labs and the states going after as well. And so this could become a blueprint for other states, and many others may join similar lawsuits down the line. So I think the first wave was, hey, in the AI debate was like, can AI do this? And now the second wave will be, who's responsible when AI does this, right? Is it the research labs? Is it those individuals? How are we using these tools? We're in a context right now where the current administration is kind of letting these things in AI kind of play out, and there's not a lot of tightening and regulation in the same way as there is in like Europe, for example. So it's set up a very interesting future of how courts treat incidents that occur from people using these tools. Oh, I think you're muted.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what to think about all of these lawsuits that are going to happen. So I'm curious how this is going to play out. It seems I could go either way on it. I'm going to watch this one closely. I do get it though. I mean, it doesn't. It's similar to Google too, right? A lot of people are Googling all kinds of things, and now the AI tools are really taking a much more aggressive stance, and sort of, I don't even want to say stance. They're just a more active member in your sort of online behavior, right? They're the one responding now, as opposed to showing you what everyone else is doing. It's pretty scary. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts? When you have kids now too, like
Yeah. No, this is great. This is great.
like
I think we lived in this space of Silicon Valley and creating a lot of these products, and obviously been harmed kids and different ways of thinking about it. I think there has to be some level of parental responsibility of kind of managing what your kids are doing, in the same way as, hey, if someone watches a violent movie and they go out and do some type of violent crime, are the people who made that movie, are the producers of the film, et cetera, are they liable as well? I don't think people would necessarily say that. Maybe it's the training and conversational aspect of this that make it a bit different, right? It's like a conversation that's happening between you and kind of this AI entity, as opposed to you just consuming content and taking that however you want. Maybe that's the nuance. I mean, I'm not a legal professional. I'm sure some other folks, I would love to see kind of what comments they have on that piece. But generally, I believe there has to be some level of personal responsibility. At the same time, there should be very hardline guardrails for kids using it, like getting parental permission, requiring some type of age verification, et cetera. Because if you have this infinite, AI tool that can answer any type of question and can bring you down some of these rabbit holes, and it's a minor, then you do want some guardrails there. So I think it's a combination between parental responsibility, but then having the right guardrails in place relative to these people being minors.
yeah, it also makes there's just a huge educational piece that we're all learning together, right, as a society, and how you should use these tools, how they should influence you, what are the guardrails you're going to need. Unfortunately, you're going to need things to happen for you to understand what the limits are, and we're learning them real quick. It seems like every day. I know in business, when it first came out a couple years ago, it was definitely not okay to use ChatGPT, and now it's like expected of you to use it. So
Isn't that crazy that flip? We haven't actually talked about that as much.
yeah,
That's a great point that you bring up there. Like,
yeah, society is going to move into that world where it's like, hey, you shouldn't be asking questions that you could ask ChatGPT. Um, right? You should at least consult AI before doing anything. Which it's really a weird one. I'm not sure where I stand on it.
yeah. I mean, you can take a more libertarian view, which is just like, hey, let people do what they
Do what they
want,
do.
and then yeah, do what they do. And I think it'd be really interesting to see how these midterms play out. It'd be really interesting to see how the next election plays out and how people think about AI and regulation. Especially if you have kind of another party come in, or if the Republican Party stays in, but there's a lot of backlash towards it. It just feels like, I mean, we're living here, and everything is moving at an exponential pace. It seems like every 2 weeks there's a new model that's released that has these new capabilities, et cetera. I don't think the people who are creating them, like, pretty much the models are building themselves at this point now. You can listen to any of the podcasts from like
Yeah,
Anthropic and the other labs. Um, and so, to the earlier point you made, I think there will have. I really hope it doesn't happen, but I feel like there will probably be some major world catastrophe related to AI, that will ultimately cause everybody to pause. I hope it happens before then, but if not,
yeah,
I think that's what's going to have to happen, because uh, everybody knows that there can be like these crazy results of using this technology, but it's so exciting, and um, there's so much money at stake that no one's pulling back.
yeah. It's easy to look past all that when stocks are up and people are learning and things are going well. Yeah, I think or it's inevitably something is gonna have to go wrong for us to pull it back a little bit, and that's scary to think about, but
Yeah,
that's just the reality, right? Just like with anything,
just like with anything
we're gonna
else.
have to
That's right.
learn the hard way, and we're gonna all learn as people what that looks like in the next couple years.
Yeah,
I'd say
hopefully our
sooner.
kids can do better. Yeah, hopefully our
Yeah,
kids can do a better job than us.
yeah. I think they're gonna have to deal with this thing is because it's gonna be a part of their life for um forever versus us just the tail end here. Introducing it in the middle of your life versus having AI your entire life. You really got to learn to live with this thing. So
Yeah,
that'll be interesting. We'll take you along that journey. So make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll keep you up to date and abreast of all the things that are happening. So appreciate your time this week. Anything else you wanted to throw in there?
that's it. We'll see. We'll see how this IPO goes. Maybe we'll see if we film before then. If not, after, we'll cover how it
Yeah,
went and
we'll jump on.
the reaction.
All right, to the moon, literally.